Welcome to Forbidden Desires channel that we hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. I tighten my hold on the steering wheel and look through the windshield at the endless road ahead. The black top is covered in long shadows due to the low sun. My car sputters to a stop after jerking once and twice. Fantastic. I murmur, exhaling deeply. It was exactly what I needed. I stop the engine and pull over as far as I can, like an incooperative old mule. The car sits there with my heart already pounding more quickly due to the nerves. I slap the steering wheel in frustration why at this particular moment, naturally there is no signal. When I reach for my phone to call roadside assistance, I saw and tuck the phone back in my purse before opening the door and stepping outside into the dry autumn air. From somewhere down the road comes the subtle scent of pine trees squinting into the engine. I lean over and pop the hood. My husband Phoenix always took care of things like this. So I know very little about cars, but I keep tapping on things and juggling wires in the hopes of a miracle. Nothing. You must be joking with me. Under my breath, I complain. I'm irritated. I can't get rid of the sweat that's gnawing at me like a mosquito. And then I hear the low pie of an engine slowing down. A sleek black truck pulls to a stop behind me as I look up. I just stare for a moment. As the driver gets out, I would estimate that he is in his mid-20s. Tall, broad-shouldered, and has Bessie dark brown hair that falls across his forehead. His t-shirt fits his arms and C******* T just too snugly, and a slight stubble dust his jawline, suggesting the kind of strength that comes only from manual labor. Do you need help? He dials. I straighten up and brush his stray hair out of my face as he speaks in a smooth and easy voice with a faint smile on his lips. I say, try not to sound too helpless. My car just broke down on me with his boots crunching on the gravel. He approaches and looks under the hood. Do you mind if I look? I move aside to make space for him. He has a magnetic presence. He moves in a way that conveys confidence without being arrogant. As if he is an expert at what he is doing. I smell the strangely pleasant scent of pine soap and motor oil as he leans over his large tuft and strong hands begin to tinker with the wires and hoses. As if he had done it 1,000 times. My eyes should be on the car, but instead they stray to his forearm veins and the way his muscles move under his skin. While he works, observing a man perform a skill he is skilled at with strength and purpose, and each movement is incredibly fulfilling. He looks up at me and smiles amiably. Looks like you alternators giving you some trouble. He has warm hazel eyes that almost turn gold as they catch the last of the sunlight. I blin, surprised at how much I'm drawn in by those eyes. Is that bad? Who's struggling to maintain a steady voice? I asked. He makes a low, rumbling sound as he laughs. No, it's not too bad. You should bring it to my shop soon, but I've patched it up enough to get you home. It will require a proper repair. Wiping his hands on a rag from his pocket, he straightens by the way. Archie extends his hand to me and I accept it. His palm feels rough and warm against mine, and his grip is firm but not too tight. I respond. Thank you, Archie. With an odd flutter in my C****** T Sophia. If you hadn't stopped, I'm not sure what I would have done. He gives me a smile that melts my heart. He takes a card out of his wallet and hands it to me, saying, I'm just glad I was passing by. I'll get it operating like new if you bring it in whenever you have time. I take a quick look at the card in my hand, which has the address and phone number of Lucas Auto Repair printed clearly across it. I'm hesitant to let this encounter end for a moment. I say, you're a lifesaver. Even though I'm trying to sound casual, I might accept that offer at any time because my heart is still racing. He's gone back in his truck and driving off down the road, leaving me standing there with a fixed car and a weird buzzing energy under my skin. Sophia's eyes linger on mine for a little longer than is necessary, and then there's a sudden intensity that I feel down to my bones. The porch light is on when I pull into our driveway, illuminating the front of the house with a cozy glow when he sees me standing at the dooryard. Phoenix's silver hair gleams in the sunlight and a gentle smile appears on his face. He says, kindly, there she is coming out to meet me. I was beginning to question whether you got lost. My heart is still entangled with thoughts of the attractive mechanic who came to my rescue when my car broke down. But I return the smile as I get out of the driver's seat. I explain, but someone stopped and fixed it for me as we enter. Phoenix puts an arm around my waist and raises an eyebrow. Yes, someone simply stopped and gave you that kind of assistance. God must have sent that. I respond, placing my purse on the kitchen counter, if you will. The very pleasant young man gave me his card and said the alternator needed to be fixed sometime this week. I'll probably take it to a store. Phoenix motions for me to take a seat at the dining table after pulling out a chair. That's great, but you'd better have it checked out before it leaves you stranded once more. Before he goes to the stove to see how dinner is going, he gives me a gentle shoulder squeeze. Phoenix has always been reliable, considerate, and steady. I adore that about Archie, but as we eat, my thoughts keep returning to him. His powerful hands, his effortless smile, and the way he made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in a long time. Is there anything noteworthy that happened today? Scooping some mashed potatoes onto his plate, Phoenix poses the question. I hesitate a fraction of a second too much. I shrugged and say not really, the car thing alone. Even as we laugh over dinner, I feel a weird undercurrent pulling at me, a lingering sense of something I can't quite put my finger on. He nods, satisfied with my response, and we settle into our routine later that night when we are lying in bed. The room is completely dark save for the moonlight peeking in through the window. I can't help but think of Archie. A sudden surge of heat comes over me as I visualize his hands and how smoothly they moved over the engine. I look at Phoenix, who is snoring quietly, and guilt niggles at the corners of my mind. What's the matter with me with a perfectly good man at my side? Why am I thinking about some young mechanic? I have no control over it, though the thoughts come without warning, a silent thrill coursing through my veins that keeps me awake and restless. The following morning, long after Phoenix has fallen asleep, I can't help but linger over Archie's business card and run my fingers over the embossed lettering. Getting the card checked out won't hurt anything, right? Why does the mere thought of seeing him again make my heart race when it would only be a minor fix, like a small secret waiting to be revealed? Quicken. The card is kept on the kitchen counter. I look at it every few minutes while I clean the house, making excuses to spend more time at the counter than is necessary. I pick it up at last and dial the number. It rings twice, before a smooth, familiar voice answers before I can talk myself out of it. This is Archie from Lucas Auto Repair. I nearly hang up out of nervousness as my heart falters. Hey, it's Sophia. Hey, you helped me with my car yesterday on the highway, I say, hoping my voice sounds relaxed and unhurried. Yes, I do recall you. He has a kind and amiable voice. How is the vehicle doing? I laugh a little and respond, it's running, but you said I should bring it in. I was just curious what time would be best. Without hesitation, he says, if you'd like you can come by right now, we have a spot available. I didn't anticipate that, nor did I anticipate that the thought would make my heart skip a beat. I try not to sound too eager, but it works perfectly. Right now, I say, fantastic. I'll see you shortly. Perhaps it's just my imagination, but Sophia's voice lingers in my ear for a moment longer than is necessary. The trip to the workshop goes smoothly, but every mile makes my stomach turn. As a mature, middle-aged woman, I feel ridiculous. I can't help but act like a teenager who has a crush on him. The thought of seeing him again is so enticing. I immediately recognize him as soon as I pull into the lot. His t-shirt is still as tight as it was the day before, and he is standing by a lift, wiping his hands on a rag. There are several other guys present, and each one is more attractive than the last. As I get out of the car, he smiles and says, "Hey, there she is. I'm glad you can attend." I say I wouldn't miss it, and I want to slap myself for sounding so flirtatious. Archie appears to be oblivious, so if he does it with ease. He opens the hood and starts working, saying, "Let's see what we got here." I watch him from a distance. Try not to show how much I like seeing him lean over the engine, those powerful arms flexing with each step. He works as if he were born to do this with ease and accuracy. A few minutes later, he stands up straight and uses his rag to wipe his hands. He looks directly at me and says it's going to take a bit more than I thought, most likely a day to sort everything out. I say that's okay. No rush. Maybe a bit too fast. He gestures for me to follow him into his office and says, "Come on, I'll show you what needs fixing." The office is small but tidy, with a few chairs against the wall and a desk piled high with papers. He picks up a notepad and begins writing down the list of repairs, occasionally looking up at me while we converse. "What do you do?" Then Sophia asks in a light-hearted manner. "Not much these days," I admit, and he laughs a little. "I am somewhat retired." He appears impressed. I lean slightly on the desk and respond, "That must be nice, lots of free time, too much." Sometimes he smiles at me sympathetically, but there's a glint of uncertainty in his eyes, as if he's not sure where this conversation is going, and to be honest, neither am I. "It gets lonely with those hands of yours," I say. "I bet you keep busy," though my voice dipping into a lower register. "You must be very skilled with them. Because you spend your days fixing things." I'm aware of how suggestive the words sound as soon as I say them. Archie stops writing in the middle, his brow furrowing slightly as though he's trying to process what I just said. He chuckles to himself as he says, "Oh yeah. I suppose you could say that." I continue, encouraged by his slight uneasiness. "Don't you think that a man with good hand skills has a certain quality?" I smile as I tilt my head and watch him. His expression is a mix of confusion and amusement as he looks up at me. "I suppose so." Like static before storm, the tension between us grows stronger. I know I shouldn't be flirting with him like this, but it's exciting in a way I haven't experienced in years anyway. "I'll start working on the repairs right away," he says, clearing his throat and guiding the discussion back to more secure territory. "It should be ready by tomorrow." I give him a smile that I hope is friendly and not something else, and I say sounds perfect. My phone rings shortly after lunch the following day. When I see Archie's name on the screen, my heart skips a beat once more. "Hello, Archie." "Hey, Sophia. Your car's ready. Everything is fixed up and running smoothly," I say, attempting to sound casual. "That's great," he says. And I respond, "I'll head over now." When I get to the workshop, Archie is waiting by my car, still grinning easily, and he grabs my keys. "Here she is in perfect condition." With a wink, he says, "I knocked a bit off the price, since you were stranded when I found you." He takes me through everything he fixed, explaining it in terms I hardly understand, but can follow anyhow. Think of it as a rescue price. I look at the bill and I'm astonished at how affordable it is. "Archie, that's really kind of you." "Thank you." He shrugs and says, "Just doing my job, but I'm not going to let him get away with it." I tenderly thank him for going above and beyond by taking a 50 from my wallet and slipping it into his hand. "For you." He looks at the money with a furrowed brow, obviously surprised. "You are not required to." "I'd like to," I interrupted him, leaving my hand on his for a fraction of a second longer than was necessary. Archie smiles sheepishly at me and puts the tip in his pocket. "Thank you, Sophia, you're welcome." I feel the warmth of his body against mine as I draw closer, just a hair, so that I will know who to call if I ever have another breakdown once more. There it is. He scratches the back of his neck, obviously unsure of how to react to the flicker of something in his eyes. Confusion, amusement, perhaps even a hint of intrigue. As I stand there, an overwhelming urge strikes. I want more than a casual conversation and long looks. I want a connection that ignites me, something I haven't experienced in a long time. Despite the butterflies in my stomach, I say, "Archie, is it possible for us to visit your office for a little while?" I wanted to talk about the car in more detail. His warm hazel eyes show a glimmer of curiosity as he looks at me. "Of course." Sophia, and my thoughts are scattered as we make our way to the office. I can't help but think about my husband, Phoenix, and our recent relationship. He's not a bad guy. It's just that something is lacking. I can recall the occasions when I attempted to elicit enthusiasm but received no response. No matter how much you've turned the key, it simply won't start, much like when you try to start a car with a dead battery. It is, to put it mildly, frustrating. His body simply doesn't react the same way it used to, but it's not like he doesn't care. No matter how hard I rev it. His engine just won't start, as if it's stalled, and Archie comes next. He is so unique, so vibrant, so energetic. His eyes simply light up when he talks about his passions. His hands are strong and self-assured, and his smile is effortless and sincere. His youthfulness is evident in every aspect. It's similar to contrasting a bright high-definition scene with a faded, worn-out photograph. I can't help but feel a sense of longing to be near that kind of energy and vitality once more. It's difficult to ignore the difference, and even more difficult to avoid being drawn to it. It's about feeling alive at work, not just about physical attraction. I sit down across from Archie, who sits behind the desk. I fold my legs, lean forward a little, and look around the room at the various parts and tools. I pick up a shiny wrench from the desk and say, "You've got quite the collection here." I feel the weight of the cool metal as I run my fingers over it. "You must be able to use all of these tools." Archie's neck begins to flush a little as he watches me. He's a little shy, but I can tell he's interested. I mean, it's adorable. "Yeah," he says, his voice a little rougher than before. "I've had a lot of practice." "What about these screws?" I put down the wrench and pick up a screw, rolling it between my fingers. I pose a suggestive question. "Do you also know how to deal with them?" "What are you doing, Sophia?" He laughed and rubbed the back of his neck. "I just want to know." I interrupt him, bending slightly closer to talk about how things work and how you make them work. He looks at me for a brief moment, and I notice a glimmer of understanding and a spark of passion. He's picking it up quickly. "It all comes down to the proper touch and pressure," he says in a low voice. I grunt as excitement shoots through my body. "Show me," I say in a pure voice. After a brief pause, he reaches out and removes the screw from my grasp. I'm not watching the screw instead. I'm watching his hands, strong, capable hands, and I'm visualizing them on me as he rolls up between his own, demonstrating the delicate pressure and careful touch. I put my hand over his and reach out. He freezes, staring up at me in awe. His heartbeat is strong and steady, and it beats in time with mine. He exhaled softly as he says, "My name's Sophia." I trace the lines of his palm with my fingertips and whisper, "Simply accept it." His eyes are fixed on mine as he blinks. His eyes show the struggle, but then I see it the instant he gives. In the instant he chooses to let go, his fingers tangle in my hair as he leans in to close the distance between us. I've been waiting for this moment since we first met. I'm so engrossed in the moment that I hardly notice the door opening or the unexpected interruption of the outside world. "I have to sorry, man." "I'm sorry, Zach." We both start to breathe heavily as we separate. When I turned around, I saw another mechanic standing in the doorway, his eyes wide with surprise and his dark skin flushed with embarrassment. His warm brown eyes and crooked smile make him endearing, and even though the situation is awkward, I can't help but smile back. "It's all right, say," I said in a steady voice. I can feel my heart pounding in my C*******T. "We invite you to join us." I can't believe I'm saying these things. I can't believe I'm doing this, but in some way it feels right. The words leave my mouth before I have time to think or second-guess myself. It seems like what I want to need. He glances at me and then at Archie, who gives me a slight nod while grinning a little. "I'm John," he says, as he enters the office and shuts the door. Archie gets up, moves to the door, and lowers the shutter to keep the outside world out. Now it's just the three of us. John takes a step forward and smiles at me. I extend my arm to grasp his hand and he draws me in. His strength is similar to Archie's in his steady, firm hands. I sense it. I've never experienced it before. Archie's dark eyes watch us, his hands find mine as he takes a step closer. They are all around me and it's euphoric. It's the rest of the world, everything I've been missing and everything I've been craving. It's just the three of us. We explore one another, moving in unison and harmony, just for this one moment and this one need. Each of us participates in this lovely dance, rhythm, and song. Time flies by in a blur of feeling. It is more than I could have ever dreamed or hoped for. It's everything. But as the intensity of the moment wanes, reality begins to resurface later as I pack my belongings and get ready to depart. I think about Phoenix and the life we've created together, and I get a twinge of regret and guilt. Archie smiles gently at me when I get to my car. John gives me a quiet nod, obviously unsure of what to say. I put my hands on the steering wheel and put a hand to my mouth, choking back a sob that catches in my throat, something shy, almost boyish. What did I do after all this? How would I handle Phoenix? Despite my belief that I had long since lost this feeling, I can't help but feel a strange, bitter satisfaction as I drive away from the workshop. My story ends here. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks for listening and see you in the next videos.